Did Destiny ever give us thoughts on Nier after we finished the game? I mean, I've kind of given them as I've played. I think that Nier was probably one of the best games I've played in a long, long, long time. The thing that Nier did better than anything else I've seen in a long time, maybe in forever, the number one thing that Nier does is it does everything through gameplay. That's actually such an incredibly important storytelling tool. Like, oh my god, it's so fucking important, and it's so awesome that it was able to do almost everything. In fact, I don't think there's a single CG no, QuickTime event, QTE. There wasn't a single QuickTime event in that entire fucking game. Everything was interactable, which was awesome. Like, you felt more, I don't know, but just you feel more things doing it that way. Does that make sense? Like, when you're wiping Pascal's memory, it would be one thing to be like, press X to delete this memory, press Y to delete this memory. It's like, okay, that's whatever. Yeah, I guess it works. But like when you actually go into the hacking interface and you're blowing up the little orbs that are becoming unprotected, like one at a time in an interface that you're already intimately familiar with and you understand what's going on, it feels so much more like you're a part of the world and you're taking ownership of your actions. And the emotion conveyed through interacting with those things in such a direct manner is so much better than watching a QuickTime event or doing a cutscene. Like, the everything, the big hacks, all the way that the hacking sequence was used to tell stories was so important. Oh my god, it was so well done. That was easily the best part of that game, for sure. The music was really well done too. I liked all the multi-stages of the music. That it went from the same song would play, but it would layer or unlayer based on whether or not you're in the hacking scene or whether or not you're fighting and whatnot.
On the topic of Nier and the story, etc., it was on your subreddit, but after watching this video series by Klemps analyzing the Drakengard and Nier series, I'm convinced Yoko Taro might be one of the best game makers or media creators ever.
Maybe. It would be really interesting to see this. Didn't the hacking get really old? For some reason, I didn't feel like the hacking got old. No. Also, keep in mind, like, you have to moderate the fuck out of your opinion of the game based on my playthrough, okay? I have a very high tolerance for repetition, so I'll do the same thing for 2 hours or 5 hours till I get right, because that's enjoyable for me. Now, if it's like, didn't the hacking get really repetitive and boring and went on over time? Keep in mind that I played it on a one-hit death mode. So, like, if you're playing the hacking sequences on hard, it's probably much easier, so it's not going to feel as repetitive and boring as, like, when I played it. Like, keep that in mind. Don't draw, like, a negative opinion of the game because of the difficulty that I played it on. What are your general thoughts on the gameplay of Nier as in funness of the combat? I thought the combat system and everything was really cool. Again, especially if you played it down in difficulty, you could probably have a lot more fun because there are so many options available to you. I thought the combat was all really fun. You had tons of mobility and everything, and everything you did felt really impactful. Yeah. It's the same on any difficulty? Oh, wait, is it one-hit death mode and hacking on any difficulty? Is that true? I think putting the two weakest characters as the first that the player gets to interact with was really lame. I don't think 2B was one of the weakest characters. I thought 2B was a fine character. 9S might appear as a weaker character, but 9S is kind of like the lens through which you view everything else, which I think is really important. 9S sort of reminds me of Raiden a little bit. We could talk a long time about this, but basically how Metal Gear Solid 2 gave you the ability to look into Snake as a character, as a legend, as a person that you interact with from the outside, and the perspective that you get of Snake is very unique when you're not playing as Snake, when you're playing as another character that's observing him, which is what Raiden ended up being in that game, right? I think that the perspective of 9S to observe 2B and other aspects of the story through 9S illuminates those other aspects of the story in a way that wouldn't be possible otherwise, if that makes sense. What did you feel about the 9S story arc? Why did you skip some parts of his plight, like the part where you slowly find out that 210 liked 9S as a brother slash husband through the dialogue of her boss fight? Oh, I think it's just because I killed her too fast. Rip. Oh, here's a huge criticism that I'll throw at Nier. The final boss was really disappointing, and that it didn't have any like story implication. That was something that was really bad. Because every other boss fight, for the most part, seemed to play really well into like what you knew. Like when you were fighting Adam and Eve, for instance, all of those were bosses that you had some relation with. I think that making the final boss in Nier. Now I know some people are gonna say, "Well, the final boss is actually 9S or A2, right?" The final like big boss fight, having it just be like the random ball thing. I think that was kind of weak. I think maybe if there was a way to find a better way to do that, would have been cool. Was it just a random roboto? Yeah, it was pretty much just a random robot thing. Yeah. It should have been the personification of the creepy red-haired ghost as the main enemy. That actually might have worked on several levels, actually, because you fighting as them, because oh fuck, hold on, because now I have to I wanted to go back and reread some of the Nier stuff to make sure I didn't miss the story, so I might my synergizing of these concepts might be kind of fucking wrong, but like the thing is that fighting the personification of the red girls would have been very interesting, because originally that they were of the mind that they wanted to destroy everything, that all of the android kind and everything needed to be destroyed and mankind needed to be destroyed. But you're ideologically, if that's what they represent, you're fighting against that, right? I think A2 and 9S to some extent before he went crazy were fighting against that idea that everything needs to be destroyed. They're searching for purpose. They're finding something to fight for. 2A or A2 definitely believe that. So fighting them not only represents a physical battle between the makers of that giant arc thing and your android, it also would represent the ideological battle of, well, we're fighting for something to believe in or to have some purpose in the world. You just want to destroy everything. So defeating them not only represents you defeating the final boss at the end of the game, but it could represent your ideology triumphing over theirs. So then they decide to make the arc and go to some other planet to find purpose and meaning because you've convinced them, rather than to destroy mankind. That would have actually been a really cool final fight. That would have like perfectly wrapped up everything and encapsulated like the whole like narrative of the game, I think. Maybe, unless I'm missing something, but I don't know anything about the Laura Loomer person. Oh, she's Project Veritas. Ugh. Did you finish all 5 endings? Yeah. If you're playing the game, do you recommend playing on very hard? You should play on hard. Very hard is not going to be fun for most people. You should just play the game on hard. You actually get to experience a lot more of the game that way too, in terms of like combat options. How did you feel about the twist that the black boxes were made from machine cores? You didn't really react when you found out? Because it was largely obvious. I think it had to be that way because fundamentally the androids and the machines are one and the same. The only difference is the androids hadn't been disconnected from the network yet, right? So, for instance, the machines the machines had a purpose when they were connected to the network, that they wanted to fight against and destroy mankind or humanity. When they were disconnected from that network, the machines were totally fucking lost. Some of them formed peaceful villages like Pascal. Some of them celebrated, the forest king, like in the people in the forest. Some of them became warriors in the desert that tried to emulate human behavior. Like the machines had no idea what to do. The androids are the very same as the machines, right? From a narrative point of view, the only difference is their network, which was the illusion that mankind was still alive in the bunker. They were still connected to that, so they still had a purpose to fight. However, as soon as the bunker is destroyed, you see 2B, A2, and 9S, and maybe even the pods to some extent, all kind of lose
Destiny,
like
did
their
you know
purpose
JF
for life,
actually made a game? For Heil.
Is it a Nazi reference or something? The bottle flip master. Okay, nice. But anyway, yeah, the struggle of the robots, they're just more advanced in their struggle, or they're farther along in their struggle than the androids were, because the androids hadn't been cut off from like their purpose for existing yet. So it wasn't surprising at all to me that androids were made from the same materials as the machines, because they both have the same kind of like existential struggles in terms of finding purpose or meaning in life once they've lost their primary purpose or meaning. Could you say that the network is a personification of community or culture? Maybe. You could probably make arguments for that, sure. When it came to Pascal, why did you erase the memory? I don't know if there's like a right answer there. I'm not sure. The whole game is kind of like about finding purpose, right? Everybody has different purpose, and some people lose their purpose and then have nothing, right? I don't know. It's an interesting game. I thought the topics were dealt with in a pretty good way too. I thought all of the side quests and everything were pretty interesting. I wish the game had a bigger budget. I feel like the game could have been insanely fucking awesome. It was already, but man, to see that game on like a Final Fantasy 15 tier budget, oof. It's basically that, though the machines actually gained a purpose to live. It's kind of lore related, but basically a machine from the first Nier lives and escaped from underground and hacked the alien machines, telling him to live and the meaning of life, which led him to copying humans. Okay, I need to go get food so that I can play games, okay? Holy shit, why won't you stupid N-words respect me? Is Sargon really saying this? Is this on a public podcast thing or a public YouTube video?
Hey, buddy.
One thing that I would have liked more from the game, and I don't know if this is a budget thing or not, but more introspection from A2 and 2B would have been interesting, I think. Yeah. Hey, buddy. Thanks, Turts, for the 4-month subber, buddy.
What about that link to the human reproduction PDF? Let's open that real quick. It appears to be an oxfordjournals.org press release about some kind of journal, but it's a blank PDF now. So I mean, they're trying to cite sources, but... So, Paul's proof that phytoestrogen reduces testosterone is A, some tests on sheep from the 40s that he hasn't even read because the blog post he's using as a source doesn't even link to it, and B, being ignorant of the fact that there's been 32 studies of the effects of phytoestrogens on humans that found no connection whatsoever. Now, just as an aside, I think it's important to point out that animal studies aren't inherently useless. Animals can be good pointers for the effects of a substance on humans, and we can also perform tests on animals that it would be unethical to do on humans. However, when there are examples of human data, barring extenuating circumstances, the human data is probably more accurate. The 40s sheep study, or other studies on animals for that matter, should not be given as much consideration if they contradict the research we've done on humans.
Oof. I agree with what he's saying there, but I'd be very careful. I think animal studies are probably like some of the most important things that we do in bio work. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I've read this like several times that the experimentation that we do on animals is absolutely invaluable to our current understanding of medical sciences, that it's like the most important work that we do, that there would be no replacement for that research. I don't know, just a random meme, but... Damn, Reshade gotten rid of for PUBG. RIP. Obviously, experimentation on humans is the best, but animal research is very, 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 very powerful. He said that? Yeah, he did, but he made it sound like the animal data was kind of like, humans is way better, but like the animal data is very, very, very fucking important. But, okay, alright, I love you guys. Can I leave now? Yeah, I'll be back in a bit. We'll play games with Bad Bunny. I need to get food. Be careful, okay?